What if the animal sleeping at the foot of your bed right now isn't just a pet, but like a spiritual teacher?
Mhm.
The teacher actively training you on how to live and, ultimately how to die.
It's a huge shift in perspective, right?
Right.
Because we usually talk about our pets like they're, well, eternal toddlers or just furry roommates.
Right. We buy their food, we dictate their schedules, we put them in little sweaters.
Exactly. It's this very clear, superhuman-centric dynamic.
Yeah, where we're the benevolent caretakers and they are just these helpless dependents.
And that's an assumed hierarchy that pretty much shapes every single interaction we have with them.
Mm,
The human provides the structure, the shelter, the intellectual superiority, I guess,
yeah.
and the animal just provides companionship and amusement.
Right. We rarely stop to consider that the flow of profound instruction might actually be, moving in the opposite direction.
Totally. Which completely flips the script on how we view something as mundane
Mm.
as taking a dog for a walk.
Yeah, you might actually be tethered to a Zen master.
I love that.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today focuses on a single, just deeply poignant source. It's excerpts from a lyrical tribute titled Sacred Paws and Heaven's Grace.
It really is a beautiful piece of work.
It is. And we're going to explore the profound spiritual connection between humans and their animal companions.
Yes, specifically looking at how grief, faith, and the quiet life lessons these companions leave behind are captured in this text.
Because the author actually refers to them explicitly as angels.
Right.
So think about your own companion animal right now, not just as the creature that shreds your couch or, begs for cheese,
Yeah.
but as a potential spiritual guide holding up a mirror to your own soul. Okay, let's unpack this. I mean, where do we even begin with a text that makes such a massive metaphysical claim?
Well, we really have to start with the foundational framework the author establishes early on.
Right.
Because this isn't just some nostalgic recollection of cute pet behaviors. The text uses incredibly rich, multi-layered religious and natural imagery to document a profound psychological and spiritual journey.
It's intense.
It is. It's a journey of devastating loss, certainly, but it's framed as a path to enlightenment. And it's told through the author's relationships with two specific dogs, Amy and Tia.
Yeah, and the author introduces them as, quote, two beautiful angels by a quiet gray sled.
Mm-hmm. Sent by God specifically for the difficult road the author had to tread.
Which sets a massive theological stage right out of the gate.
Absolutely.
But before we can fully grasp the author's ultimate spiritual awakening later in the text, we have to understand the bedrock of their faith.
Right, and that foundation was laid over a very long period of time by their first companion, a dog named Amy.
So let's talk about Amy, because she was around for, what, 13 years?
13 years, yeah. She represents this extended, deep-rooted connection. And the author describes her character using this fascinating, almost paradoxical duality.
I noticed that. It's really striking.
Yeah, because on one hand, Amy is called a warrior and a shield.
Right.
She is a fierce protector with a heart that is deep and broad. There is this immense worldly strength to her presence. The author clearly relied on her as a tangible barrier against the chaos of the outside world.
Yeah, but then the text immediately pivots, right?
Yeah, exactly. It pivots to reveal her internal nature, stating that her truest beauty was actually how she stood before her God.
So she's the warrior and the worshiper simultaneously.
Yes.
You know what it makes me think of? Think of an ancient temple guardian.
Oh, like the statues.
Yeah, those massive, terrifying statues you see outside of historical sacred sites in Asia or the Middle East. On the outside, they are fierce. They have their weapons drawn, their teeth bared.
Right, they look super intimidating.
Exactly. They are intimidating shields meant to absorb the violence and chaos of the profane world. But their entire existence, their core purpose, is solely to revere and protect the quiet, fragile, sacred space on the inside.
Wow, yeah.
That's Amy. She holds the line against the world's strife so the author can experience peace.
That analogy perfectly captures the mechanism of her devotion.
Right.
Because, a shield is only valuable if there's something precious behind it worth protecting.
Right.
And the text illustrates this internal reverence beautifully with the imagery of the candle.
I love the candle part.
It's so vivid. We learn that whenever a candle flickered to life, calling the household away from worldly strife, Amy was the very first to seek out that holy space.
And she was completely indifferent to which room it was in.
Right. The text calls it a rare devotion, a quiet, sacred sign. and it culminates in this profound image of a creature of the earth touching something divine.
I absolutely love that visual of a dog actively seeking out the quiet, flickering light of a candle in a dark room.
It's super peaceful.
But I do have to play devil's advocate for a second here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's look at this critically. Does the text imply that Amy actually understood the religious significance of the candles? Or is it highly probable the author is projecting their own religious faith onto a dog's basic biological instinct?
That's a very fair question.
Right. I mean, dogs like warmth. They prefer calm environments over chaotic ones. When a human sits quietly in a dimly lit room, the dog naturally gravitates toward that calm energy just to lower its own heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
So are we really looking at spiritual devotion or just a mammalian nervous system regulating itself?
Well, this raises an important question about how humans interpret the nonverbal world. We have to consider this impartially, analyzing a text so deeply steeped in the author's personal faith without necessarily endorsing the theology ourselves.
Right, keeping it objective.
Exactly. From a purely behavioral standpoint, yes, a dog seeks out thermal comfort and a compact leader, but the author is actively synthesizing the natural and the spiritual here.
Okay.
In this worldview, that natural biological instinct is the sacred sign.
Oh, I see.
The text argues that the dog doesn't need to intellectually comprehend complex theology to participate in a holy moment.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it suggests that intellectual baggage, like our constant overthinking, our religious dogmas, our anxieties, actually gets in the way of spiritual presence.
Wow, yeah.
So the sheer purity of the animal, simply seeking peace and quiet away from the world's strife, becomes the purest form of prayer.
So the lack of human intellect is actually a spiritual advantage.
Precisely.
She didn't need to read scripture to know that the flickering candle meant peace. She just embodied the peace.
Right.
That completely reframes how we view instinct.
It really does.
So Amy's life was defined by this quiet 13-year reverence. But the text takes a really jarring turn because her departure from the earth was anything but quiet.
No, it wasn't.
It was marked by a remarkably loud, majestic symphony of signs. The sheer scale of her death really underscores how heavily her loss impacted the author's reality.
The tonal shift is dramatic there. The text details Amy's passing on a Sunday evening under twilight skies.
Yeah.
And twilight is universally a liminal space. It's a transition between day and night, life and death. The setting is intensely peaceful, but the author is physically bearing her away, carrying the heavy, literal weight of loss.
Right.
And in that hyper-vulnerable state, the author begins scanning the environment for signs from heaven to help bear the psychological cross of this grief.
And the signs they witness are incredibly specific and massive.
Yeah, they really are.
We were talking about finding a feather on the ground or a gentle breeze blowing through the trees. The author looks up and sees two marching army trucks acting as a guard of honor high.
Mm-hmm.
And then, ringing out across the sky, they hear both temple bells and church bells simultaneously.
What's fascinating here is this psychological mechanism of meaning-making during profound grief. And it's paired with the sheer scale of the multi-faith imagery.
Break that down for us.
Sure, let's look at the military element first. Seeing army trucks perfectly echoes Amy's role as a warrior and a shield.
Oh, right.
The human brain, desperate for order in the chaos of loss, connects a mundane military maneuver to the dog's life purpose. The universe is seemingly providing this protector with a formal militaristic guard of honor.
That makes total sense.
And then you have the auditory signs, the ringing of temple bells and church bells.
Not just church bells. The inclusion of temple bells is such a specific, deliberate detail.
It is. It reveals a deeply universal rather than strictly sectarian worldview.
Right.
The author is utilizing multi-faith imagery to suggest a cosmic acknowledgement of this soul's transition. This isn't confined to one specific religious dogma or one type of architecture.
Yeah.
The simultaneous ringing signifies that this isn't merely a biological organism shutting down. This is an angel returning to her source, joining the chorus of the saints.
Wow.
The universe itself, across diverse religious expressions, is celebrating the return of a faithful soul.
Have you ever experienced a moment of intense loss where the universe seemingly paused and provided exactly the signs you needed to keep going?
It's a really common experience with grief.
It is, because the mundane world obviously doesn't stop for our personal grief. Army trucks are just soldiers doing evening maneuvers. Bells are just ringing to call different communities to their evening services.
Right.
But mourning alters our perception of reality. In that shattered state, the mundane becomes perfectly, beautifully orchestrated for our pain. The author needed a cosmic acknowledgement of their warrior, and their brain found one.
It is a vital cognitive survival tool. The author is finding narrative and meaning in a devastating void.
Mm,
It provides a heavy, ceremonial finality to Amy's passing. But time, inevitably, refuses to stop.
right. And the psychological void left by a 13-year daily habit is just massive. Yet the text illustrates that seasons must turn.
They always do.
The text notes that winter turned to summer, 6 months passed away. And after that half year of adjusting to a profoundly quiet house, a completely different kind of angel arrives.
It really is a shock to the system.
Tia enters the narrative, and she brings a completely different kind of curriculum.
The contrast between these two companions is stark. And it begins with the element of time.
Yeah.
Amy was a 13-year steadfast anchor. Tia, who was a German Shepherd, is described as a brief but blindingly bright presence. She was only there for 18 months.
18 months. Anyone who has had a pet knows that a year and a half feels like an absolute blink of an eye,
Completely.
especially coming off a 13-year relationship. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
If Amy was the ancient temple guardian fiercely protecting the quiet, sacred interior, Tia is a completely different archetype.
How so?
Tia is a minimalist philosopher. She is a hardcore stoic mindfulness coach disguised as a German shepherd.
I like that. Let's explore that mechanism. How exactly does a dog function as a stoic philosopher in the author's narrative?
By forcing a massive cognitive shift. Look at what she does in the text. Tia shifts the author's entire focus away from heavenly worship and candles and dark rooms, pulling them out into intense, grounded, earthy presence.
Right.
The text explicitly states she stripped away the vanity of things we chase and buy. She showed the author what we truly need beneath the open sky. She literally takes the author outside and says, look at the dirt, look at the grass. This is the only reality that actually exists. The future is an illusion. The past is gone.
The pivot is profound. Because the author notes that Tia taught them a harsh but liberating truth.
Yeah.
That the desperate human battles for the material and grand all inevitably end in 6 feet of soil in a quiet patch of land.
Oh.
Observing the absolute simplicity of an animal's daily existence forces a confrontation with human mortality and the sheer futility of our economic anxiety.
It really does.
Tia proves that time does not dictate the value or depth of a connection. 18 months was more than enough time to completely dismantle and rebuild the author's value system.
She teaches that ultimately, biologically and spiritually, we just need a few drops of water to quench the final thirst and a peaceful place to rest when the bubbles of life burst.
That phrase is incredible.
I cannot get over that phrase. Bubbles of life burst is such a gorgeous, terrifying way to describe human endeavors.
It really is.
We spend our entire lives chasing these shiny, floating bubbles. Our careers, our status, the perfect car, the brand of our clothes. We build entire identities around them, but they are completely hollow, they have no substance, and eventually they all just pop.
Right.
Tia, with her unwavering, grounded spirit, teaches the author how to stop chasing bubbles and stay rooted in the present, grateful for today.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Tia's brief earthly presence serves as the absolutely necessary counterweight to Amy's heavenly devotion.
Oh, that's a great point.
Amy taught the author how to look up, to revere the divine, to seek the sacred in the quiet.
Yeah.
But you can't live your entire life just looking up. Tia taught the author how to look down, to appreciate the dirt, the present moment, and to aggressively let go of material vanity.
So they needed both.
Exactly. The author required both curriculums to achieve a complete spiritual perspective. Through Tia's serene philosophical example, the author learns to find strength in serenity, to look to God, and to consciously wrap every single moment in a blanket of his love.
It's an incredibly warm, insulating image against the coldness of mortality. But, gathering all these philosophical tools and spiritual lessons doesn't make you immune to pain. The author still has to face the brutal reality of their absence.
Unfortunately, yes.
And that brings us to the emotional culmination of the text, where the author must say a final goodbye.
The architectural shift in this final section is quite striking. Up until now, the author has been recounting a narrative.
Right.
They have been telling us a story about past events, Amy seeking out the candle, Tia teaching lessons under the summer sky. But in the final verses, the text abandons storytelling entirely.
It really changes gears.
It moves into direct, urgent supplication. It becomes an act of prayer. Quote, "Rest peacefully, sweet Amy. Rest peacefully, dear Tia.
It feels uncomfortably intimate.
I agree.
It's like we've walked into a sanctuary and are eavesdropping on someone weeping at an altar.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
The author explicitly calls on Mother Mary to hear them, asking her to wrap these departed souls in her bright mantle. They are calling out to the angels and the saints, asking them to join the prayer that is being raised.
We see the deep, structural religious framework of the author's worldview doing the heavy lifting here.
Right.
When human psychology breaks down under the weight of grief, religious frameworks provide a necessary scaffolding. The author is utilizing their faith tradition, specifically the intercession of Mary and the communion of saints, to ensure the spiritual safety of their companions.
Mm.
It is a profound psychological act of letting go. They are actively transferring the responsibility of caretaking from themselves to a divine source.
Trusting that while the earthly race has ceased, the love itself is indestructible.
Exactly.
But amidst all that lofty theological imagery, the saints, the bright mantles, the heavenly chorus, the phrase that really anchors this to the raw, bleeding human experience is when the author says, "Thank you, God, for hearing what my broken heart would say."
The spiritual lessons did not prevent the suffering. The vulnerability there is total.
After learning everything about serenity, after mastering the present moment, after understanding the futility of chasing bubbles, the heart is still broken. And the text doesn't shy away from that pain or try to spiritualize it out of existence. It raises an incredibly difficult, practical question for anyone who has been through the death of a companion.
What's that?
How do we actually hold on to that metaphysical blanket of love when the physical creature is gone? How do you practice presence when the house is suffocatingly quiet and the leash is just hanging empty by the front door?
That is the eternal tension of grief.
It really is.
And the text implies that the answer lies in the active integration of those specific lessons. The author acknowledges to the dogs, your journeys may be over, but your lessons are still here. The physical body, the fur, the warmth, that's gone. But the spiritual imprint alters the human's trajectory permanently.
Yeah.
The blanket of love isn't something you passively wear. It's woven from the active practice of gratitude that Tia taught and the active devotion to peace that Amy modeled. You survive their absence by embodying the philosophy they left behind.
So what does this all mean for us? We've explored this incredible dichotomy. Amy, the fierce warrior and quiet worshiper, who modeled deep devotion, protection, and the necessity of seeking out sacred spaces away from worldly strife.
Right.
And Tia, the brief, blazing light, who acted as a stoic philosopher, teaching grounded presence, raw gratitude, and the total rejection of material vanity. Together, these two angels provided a comprehensive spiritual education for the human they lived with.
It serves as a compelling invitation to completely reevaluate the animals in our own lives.
Yeah.
It asks us to look past the mundane routines of feeding, walking, and vet visits, and to intensely observe the quiet, unburdened philosophy by which they navigate the world.
The next time you look at your pet, or even just take a walk in a park and observe the birds or the squirrels around you, pause.
Just stop for a second.
Yeah. Ask yourself, what quiet, profound lesson is being offered to me right this very second? Are they modeling absolute patience? Are they showing you how to rest completely without an ounce of human guilt regarding productivity?
That's a big one.
Are they demonstrating how to love someone without holding on to a single resentment from yesterday?
The author chose to view those natural biological behaviors through a lens of profound faith, categorizing them as divine instruction.
Right.
And regardless of whether one shares that specific religious framework, the underlying core truth is undeniable. Animals live in a permanent state of present moment awareness.
It really do.
They inhabit a mental space that human beings spend lifetimes trying to achieve through complex meditation retreats and dense philosophical texts.
They really have it figured out. They don't have existential dread about 5-year plans. They don't care about the brand of their collar, the size of their house, or the bubbles of life that we obsess over.
No, they don't.
They just are. And as we wrap up this deep dive into sacred paws and heaven's grace, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over on your own. It builds on everything we've just unpacked.
Okay.
The text suggests that these animals touch the divine naturally and eventually join the chorus of the saints. It frames them as holy, spiritually pure beings. But if our animal companions are already spiritually pure, if they don't suffer from human vanity or greed or materialism or malice, then they don't actually need to be here on Earth to learn anything.
Right.
They don't have spiritual karma to work out. They are already perfect.
That's a really interesting way to look at it.
So perhaps they aren't here to share our journey at all. Perhaps they're divine messengers sent here specifically to rescue our shattered spiritual lives.
Wow.
When you go home and put food in a bowl for your dog or your cat tonight, I want you to look them in the eye and ponder this. Are you really taking care of them, or are they quietly taking care of you?